what you are seeing on screen is last week's power rankings. So, I was gonna, go through and then, do what I normally do and just put them, up and this and do this and this and this, go in order. But there's not a lot I'm gonna change, and if you've seen my videos earlier this week, we'll just go ahead and do it. I am going to switch these two. I do think DC is the best team in the league now after their performance this past week and after the performance of the Roughnecks. And then the other thing I would do is I would move Seattle up to 4. I know there's still going to be people mad. They're like, hey, why are the Battlehawks still at 3? We'll talk about that. I want to talk about number 1 first. We'll go from top to bottom. We'll leave the Guardians for last because we might be doing a funeral next week. I don't know. We might be doing a whole video on the Guardians just next week. We'll see. But DC to me throughout the year has just shown that hey, they can hang with anyone. They can do whatever they need to do. They can win games no matter what. They have beaten the Battlehawks twice this year, so they have swept them. And they've just overall looked great. Still undefeated. I know we're only 5 weeks in, but undefeated through 5 weeks and into week 6 this weekend. I think they play on Monday this week. I forget what the schedule is. I looked at it when I was doing the video, when I was making my videos earlier this week, and I have not looked at it since. But I believe it's Saturday to Sunday and then a Monday, and I believe they're a prime time on Monday. So if you have it's probably ESPN. If you have ESPN, watch this team. To me, they look complete. And, I thought they've looked complete since week 3. I just thought Houston head-to-head, I thought that offense was just going to fly and just, kill them. And, I thought DC is going to have to come from behind. They're going to have to put up 30, 40-some points to even win that game. That was before Houston had a major collapse, only put up 14 against the Sea Dragons, and just looked absolutely terrible. They didn't put up any points until the 4th quarter. 3 quarters of nothing. And now the defense was doing okay. They kept, I think it was 8-0 heading into the 3rd quarter. Or heading in, Yeah, I think maybe it was 14-0 at half. Whatever. Point is, you can go back and watch my video earlier this week. I remember it more clearly because I had just watched the game too. But defense, 2 touchdowns in the first half, only a touchdown in the second half. They tried their best to clamp down, but Seattle's defense just knocked over and just pummeled that Roughnecks offense. And if this is the team we see for the rest of the season, DC might beat them. I think there's other chances other teams could beat them. Ben Kurt just signed with the Brahmas. They might be a top-tier team. I always thought they were a couple pieces away. I think Ben Kurt is going to easily make that team better. I'll do a video on that separately later today. Going over because as a Packers fan, I got to see him. Atlanta. I think it was there for 5 years with Atlanta before he came to us for 2. So I think there's teams that can really give Houston a run for their money, and Seattle might have just been the team to just exploit them and prove that hey, they're not they're not some immortal god. They can be killed. They can be dethroned. In the case of power rankings, they have. So I'm interested to see how they bounce back. I think they play DC this week. Hang on, I can pull it up. I can pull up my channel on my phone here because it'll be just a video or 2 below. I think they played DC. Let's look here real quick. Oops, I went past it. They do. They are the last game. They played DC. This week is going to determine the best team in the league for me. So if Houston can bounce back and get that win against DC on the road, they have to go to DC. You can go on the road, beat DC in their house. I'm putting you back at 1. I think you deserve that if you can do that. If you lose, DC is going to be the crowning champ here. They're going to be the number 1 team in the league. So we'll see. This coming week, this Monday night, God, I can't wait. I cannot wait. I wish it was on normal TV because I would love to stream that game because that is going to be a banger. And there might be a bunch of points scored. We'll see. Or it could just end up 21-14, and defense just shows out. We'll see. Battlehawks over Sea Dragons. We'll talk about that real quick. I think they're still in the upper echelons of, good teams, great teams even. They fell down, I think it was 14-3 to DC against the second time. This was at home just last week. Bounced back, late in the game, started coming alive again, and then, made it 20-28, and then just could not finish and tie the game here at the end of the game. So I still think that they can beat DC. I think there's potential that they can. I think they got they got crap to work on. But I think they can. I think that if their defense can show out and be a little more better at the start of the game, not allow as many points, give the offense some time to roll, I think they can. But I can't put the Seattle Sea Dragons over them because Seattle has started so low, and now they're rising, okay? Now they're rising. Now they're looking better. That's what you want, though. You don't want to start out hot. For example, like Houston. Again, we'll just talk about Houston, and this is a hypothetical if Houston falls off a cliff. You don't want to start very hot, go undefeated 4 weeks, and then all of a sudden you're just slowly falling down, and then you start losing a whole bunch of games later on in the season. That's for basketball, baseball, football, everything. If you start out hot and then fall off, well, you're frauds, for one, but it's not going to be helpful because then you're going to be one and done in the playoffs. You're not even going to get a win. You might be, good enough to get a home game, but then, well, I guess in the case of NBA, it'd be like if it went 7, but but you might get a home game and you might just fall off a cliff and you're not even going to get a win in the playoffs. But Seattle, again, started out rocky, not looking too good, and now they're rising and they're going up. And if they can go on a win streak, if they can gain a lot of momentum going in the playoffs so they can make a spot, I think this is an underrated team you have to watch out for. I think DC could still beat them. I think the Roughnecks could still beat them, even though they lost. I think the Roughnecks could still beat them. I think the Battlehawks could still beat them too. But any given Sunday, any given Saturday, any given Monday, Friday, Thursday, whatever, any given day of the week, Seattle can win, and they're starting to prove to me that, hey, as they're going up and looking a lot better, they can hang with those top-tier teams. I just want to see more of that. I don't want them to go, oh, here's one amazing, spectacular, biggest upset of the XFL season, and then, oh, they're losing to the Guardians or something like that later on this year. I don't want to see that. So they got to still prove to me a little bit more before I can put them above the Battlehawks, but they're rising. If you're a Sea Dragons fan, you got to be happy. There's nothing that's going to top that. Unless the Guardians beat the Defenders or beat the Roughnecks, there's nothing that's going to top Sea Dragons beating the Roughnecks this year. So, pretty safe bet for a lock. Now, I mean, unless we get to week 10 and, the Roughnecks are resting their starters and then, and then the Guardians would, get a win. But I don't think they play each other week 10. But point is, I think it's a pretty safe bet to say that the Sea Dragons have the biggest upset of the season here. So, Renegades still just, hanging out there. We'll see what happens. Brahmas, again, as I stated before, and I'm going to do a whole more in-depth video on this. I'll do it later today. I'll probably record it right after this. So I'm Kurt Benkert. I think they're, we're a couple pieces away. Still kind of are. I think a better QB that has, I hate to say this because I feel so bad, but a little more experience, been around, a GOAT, one of the GOATs in Green Bay. You were around Matt Ryan. I think he was there when Matt Ryan had his MVP season. Around Matt LaFleur, a great, good coach. I'm not, we're not going to get into that. But I think when you have someone like that that's elevated, that, again, has been in the NFL, back up to some good quarterbacks when they were good, and, Rodgers is still good. But point is, I think that, Kurt Benkert's going to help this team, propel them up. I could see them being like a Sea Dragons and just skyrocketing up the power rankings and start just winning a bunch of games here. So, I think that they can get there. I just want to see that. I want to see their defense be locked down. There's potential on defense. Some weeks I watch their defense and I'm going to go, oh my God. they can be up there in the top 2 defenses, and then some weeks I'm like, what the heck? What is going on? So if you're a Brahmas fan, I like the Kurt Benkert signing a lot, and it's kind of biased a little bit, but just, I know what he's been through, I know where he's been and whatnot. He even hung out with the Niners for a little while, got to learn from, Kyle Shanahan, who's one of the best coaches in the NFL, too. So, there's a lot that Kurt Benkert can really do for your team. So, I think he could bring wisdom into that locker room and help. It's just, I want to see the defense get a little bit better. Vipers, Guardians, nothing really to say there, nothing really to change, because, Guardians proved they're the worst team in the league, and, again, we're coming up. I'm going to get a tie on, I'll get a black suit on if I have to, and we'll put them to rest here in probably 2 weeks. Week or 2 weeks, maybe even 3 weeks if they, win a game and postpone their inevitable death. But I think Guardians are clearly the worst. I thought that when the coach came out, was that after week 2 and just bashed the players and said, hey, they don't care, they don't want to be here. I thought that was going to light a fire. That would have lit a fire under me. I'm just, me personally, I don't let that slide. But me personally, if my coach is coming out, he's saying, you guys are shit. You guys are terrible. Why are you on this team if you don't care about this sport? Blah, 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 blah. I would have gone out the next day in practice, and I would have just gave my heart out for the rest of that season for that coach. I would have proved to them. And the Guardians just don't look like they are. Like, they can be competitive in some games, but it's never enough. Like, they just don't, bump them down to college. But anyway, point is, that's the power rankings again. Just kind of a couple little switch ups here. I know I talked for longer than I wanted to, but there's so much at the top that I want to talk about. The Roughnecks. I feel like I could do a whole video saying, hey, if this happens, they could go downhill. And, I could really do that. But I want to see how they do against DC. If they bounce back against DC, I think that there's potential where they can probably stay the best team in the league. If they don't, then you're thinking, we're going downhill. So we'll see. For now, like the video, share the video around, don't subscribe. Again, later today, I'll do a video talking about Kurt Benkert, how we can help out the Brahmas offense and the team as a whole. But for now, this has been the power rankings for post week 5. We have a couple days here. Saturday, week 6 starts, and I'm out of here for now. Peace.